I'm embarking on Wizz Air's recently launched longest ever route, London Gatwick to Jeddah, a mammoth 7-hour flight on their brand new and very first A321XLR. With prices starting from only £90, it's a fraction of what full-service airlines charge. But can a 7-hour flight on an airline notorious for its no-frills approach actually be bearable, let alone enjoyable? Or will I be regretting every single one of those pennies I saved? The challenge isn't just the sheer duration, it's surviving 7 hours on an airline where every comfort is an extra cost. It's about adapting to a different standard of service, staying fed and entertained while in a seat typically used for short 2-hour flights. I've flown Wizz Air over 30 times in the last year alone, so I'm very familiar with their product, and I'll share all my best tips and tricks to make this long-haul budget flight as bearable as possible. And to truly settle the debate, I'll fly the return journey from Jeddah back to Gatwick on Saudia in economy, giving you a direct side-by-side comparison to definitively answer, is the Wizz Air saving worth the sacrifice? I'm here at London Gatwick Airport, and this plane in front of me is Wizz Air's very first A321XLR, about to take me on their longest route yet. XLR means extra long range, and it's a game changer for budget airlines like Wizz. This new A321 variant has an additional fuel tank, allowing it to fly further than ever before, opening up routes like this 7-hour haul to Jeddah. Wizz Air is one of the first airlines to get their hands on it, and with 47 more on order, expect to see these longer, cheaper flights become a big part of their future strategy. One-way tickets start at £90, but most flights from Gatwick are typically around £135, which is what I paid. Although during peak dates, the prices go up into the hundreds of pounds. And what does that ticket price get you? Well, basically nothing. Just a randomly allocated seat on your flight and a small personal item. And that item has to be fairly small. So if it doesn't fit into here, you'll need to pay for a larger cabin bag, which has to fit in here. For anything larger or that you don't want to carry, you'll need to pay for checked-in bags. And I'll track every extra cost so we can see how quickly it stacks up at the end of the video. The larger cabin bag is about £30 and comes with priority boarding. And a 20-kilo checked-in bag comes to £73. Now, let's get through security and find our plane for today. Before we get on board though, let's go through the survival checklist together to make sure we're prepared for the upcoming ordeal. First of all, entertainment. Make sure you download all the music and videos you want to watch on board, because there's no Wi-Fi and no in-flight entertainment. Or bring a book. Make sure you charge your devices, because there are absolutely no power sockets on board. And this is a big one. You must carry any power banks with you in your cabin bag. They are forbidden in checked-in baggage. But Wizz Air does not allow you to use your power bank during the flight. So make sure you're fully charged to last the 7 hours, or you'll be staring at the seat back for the last few hours. For comfort, I'd bring a neck pillow, and if you want to sleep, definitely bring an eye mask and some earplugs, or some noise-cancelling headphones. Maybe even a thin blanket. Hydration is key on such a long flight, so either bring an empty water bottle to fill up after security, buy one from the shops, or you can always buy one on board. Same goes for snacks, but I'll get mine on board to show you what's available. And finally, an important travel tip. Have your Saudi e-visa ready. Even though UK passport holders and other nationalities are eligible for visa on arrival, there have been cases of Wizz Air incorrectly denying boarding to passengers for not having a visa, so save yourself the hassle and get it ready beforehand. Looks like the plane just arrived, so let's get on board. First impressions are, the cabin looks exactly the same as the regular Wizz A321neos, but they definitely have that new plane smell. I'm in seat 19A today, an exit row seat with extra legroom. I paid £26 for this, and securing one of these would be one of my top tips. For such a long flight, it's a small cost for the extra space and comfort compared to a standard seat, especially considering the cheapest seat on this flight is £18. First row is the highest at £29, which is actually a pretty good deal. I'll find a spare regular seat later to compare, but for now, I'll get settled in. The trick I usually do with Wizz flights is to go for the free randomly allocated seats at check-in, and if you like it, you can keep it, and if you don't like it, then at that point you can pay to change. If you're in a group though, then Wizz will split you up, so you may want to pay to be next to each other, or use the same trick I just mentioned and pay to move to the person with the better seat.
For even more comfort, you can even pay to have the seat next to you empty. I'm not doing this today because I didn't want to spend the money, but it is an option, and I'm crossing my fingers that the seat remains empty. Let's see.
For the extra seat, simply put the first name as EXST and then your own surname in the last name field when booking. The seat itself is very basic. It's a slimline seat with minimal padding and no recline. It's fine for now, but let's see how I feel about that in a few hours. The regular seat is exactly the same, but you can see the difference in legroom here. Looks like boarding is complete, so let's get to the runway and start this journey. It's been 50 minutes since takeoff and the trolley service has just started making its way down the aisle. I'm going for the meal deal at £12.10. I chose the double meat croissant, a Coke Zero and a pack of chocolate biscuits. I also got a bottle of water for £3. The sandwich itself tastes fine. It's good for an airplane sandwich. Won't blow your mind, but it'll sort your hunger. And I would have enjoyed my biscuits a bit more if they didn't come crunched up. Alcohol is sold on this flight, but the pilot will make an announcement just before crossing into Saudi airspace where alcohol sales will be prohibited. I'm going to kill a bit of time now and get through some of my downloaded YouTube Watch Later playlist. We're 3 hours in now, and the trolley is coming down the aisle for a second round of food and drinks orders. This time, I ordered some chicken noodles for £5. I was expecting a third service later in the flight, as I had experienced on the previous longest Wizz flight, Vienna to Abu Dhabi, but there were only 2 rounds, so make sure you get your order in time. Time for a quick toilet review. There's 1 toilet at the front and 2 toilets at the back of the plane. Nothing particularly special to report here. They're pretty basic plane toilets, but they do the job.
And since we're halfway through the flight right now, I thought I'd tell you how it's going so far. The first couple hours were okay, the extra legroom definitely helps, but I'm starting to get a little restless and there's like 3.5 hours left. So it's gonna be a bit tough, but I'm gonna go back to my seat. I'll see if I can sleep to kill some time, so let's do this.
Back at my seat, the crew had dimmed the cabin lights, so it felt like the right time to try to get a couple hours of sleep in. I personally struggle to sleep well upright, but the eye mask and noise-cancelling headphones make a big difference. After getting an hour or so of sleep in, I was awoken by the captain announcing the entering of Saudi airspace and the MECAP point for those on pilgrimage.
Once again, in 40 minutes we'll be entering Saudi space, and in 55 minutes we will reach Al MECAP. Thank you for your attention.
At this point, I'm starting to feel really restless. My back's starting to hurt, so it's definitely worth walking up and down the aisle and stretching at the front or back of the plane, because sitting solid for 7 hours is not good for you.
Thankfully, after being in the air for almost 7 hours, the captain announced we had started our descent into Jeddah. Wizz Air operates from the North Terminal at Jeddah International, which is the older terminal that low-cost carriers use. It's definitely showing its age, so I'm looking forward to seeing the new Terminal 1 where Saudia are based on the return flight.
But first, let's look at some of the questions my followers left me on Instagram about this flight experience. How much do you have to spend on meals if you don't want to get hangry? Well, I think the cheapest meal deal is about £10, but if you don't want to get hangry and eat a second time, I'd say £15 to £20 is reasonable. Is your back hurting? Yes. Just why? I don't know. I love aviation, and the first thing when I saw Wizz was getting the XLR and we're flying for 7 hours was, I gotta get on this flight, so that's why. Do they stock enough food and drink to purchase on board for the whole flight? It seemed like it. I've been on Wizz flights before where they run out of food in the first few rows, but here there was 2 full trolley services and everyone seemed to get what they wanted. I guess for 7 hours flight, they must really load up the carts. How many glasses of champagne can you drink on a 7-hour flight? That is an excellent question. I didn't actually drink on this flight because there was a bunch of people doing Umrah around me and I didn't want to be boozing up. But if you go watch my Etihad first class video, I think that's probably my record. Thanks to everyone that participated. There were more questions that I already answered throughout the video, and if you want to get involved next time, make sure you follow me on Instagram at @flymanyan. But for now, I'm going to continue exploring Jeddah until my flight back to London tomorrow morning.
Terminal 1 is Saudia's home base at King Abdulaziz International Airport, and it's a large, modern space. I was hoping to see the massive aquarium, but it turns out it's in the arrivals hall, not departures.
My one-way ticket cost £260, double what I paid with Wizz.
But it's important to note, flights originating in Jeddah are cheaper than those originating in Gatwick. So if I flew Saudia from Gatwick to Jeddah on the way here, the cost would have been around £370 one way, almost 3 times the Wizz price. To be fair though, those cheap £90 Wizz flights on this route all tend to originate in Jeddah, so it works both ways.
So, what's included with my Saudia ticket? Well, pretty much everything you had to pay extra for with Wizz.
Starting with baggage, you can bring a larger cabin bag on board without paying extra, and you get a 23kg checked bag included. I'm not dropping any bags today, but I'll still head to the counters to check in. Airport check-in is free with Saudia, although you can still do it online. Wizz requires you to check in online no later than 3 hours before your flight. Otherwise, you'll have to pay £40 to check in at the airport.
Now, let's get through security and onto this plane.
Jeddah Airport has plenty of shops and dining options, but I'll be sticking with the in-flight service today to show you what to expect.
We'll be flying back on a 787 today, and the good thing with this aircraft is it flies with a lower cabin altitude. Without getting too technical, the higher pressure makes for a more comfortable ride, so you'll arrive feeling less fatigued and you won't have that annoying dry throat you always get after long flights.
Boarding was just announced, so let's get on board. Being a wide-body aircraft, the cabin is a lot more spacious, and even though I don't have extra legroom today, the standard seats on Saudia provide 4 more inches of legroom compared to Wizz's standard seats, which makes a difference on a flight of this length.
You can also pay to reserve the seat next to you with Saudia. They'll usually send you an email with an offer to pay for 1 or 2 adjacent seats, and it will be cheaper than buying an extra ticket, so it works out better than Wizz.
The seat itself is much more comfortable than Wizz Air. The padding feels better, it comes with a small pillow and blanket, there's an adjustable headrest, you can actually recline, and you won't get bored with the in-flight entertainment system in the seat back. And you can still watch your own content, of course, and rest easy knowing you can charge your devices at your seat with an international power socket found underneath. Right, seems like everyone has boarded, so let's get in the air. The crew passed through the cabin to hand out hot towels, something I've never seen in economy. That was followed by an amenity kit pouch with socks, an eye mask, a dental kit, and earplugs. I'm pretty impressed so far. The meal service started an hour and 15 minutes after takeoff. There were 3 options: the chicken, which had run out, paneer, and scrambled eggs, which I chose. Whilst it didn't look the most appealing, it actually tasted pretty good, and it was nice to have a hot meal. It came with a croissant, diced melon, and a mango yogurt. The meal service is complimentary and drinks are unlimited, so if you get thirsty at any point in the flight, the cabin crew will gladly bring you a drink of your choice. It's important to note that Saudia is a dry airline, so that means absolutely no alcohol is served on board. There are 6 toilets for economy passengers, with 4 in the middle and 2 at the back. The toilets are a bit more spacious than Wizz, but let's be honest, it's still just a basic plane toilet. It does the job. A unique feature on board Saudia's long-haul fleet is the dedicated prayer space. The curtains are drawn after takeoff and a prayer mat is placed on the floor. It's the only airline to offer this, and the screen shows the Qibla. The cabin lights were dimmed after the meal service, so now it's time for me to sit back, relax, and enjoy a movie on Saudia's IFE system with the provided headphones. Saudia is the clear winner with regards to onboard entertainment, and they also have Wi-Fi for a fee, albeit pretty expensive, so you can stay connected if you wish, which might be useful for those working or staying in touch with friends and family.
Okay, so we're about halfway through the flight now, and I'm feeling okay. I mean, I'm still sitting in a seat for some hours, but the recline and the extra padding definitely does make a difference, so it's feeling better than Wizz for sure. I've got a few hours left, so I'm going to keep watching movies, and I won't count this towards the rating, but the 2 seats next to me are free, so I'm going to lie down a bit and take advantage of that.
As we got closer to London, the crew came back down the cabin to offer a pre-arrival snack. I had the mini pizza, which was heated and topped with red peppers, black olives, and red onions. Pretty simple, but you can never go wrong with pizza.
And almost 7 hours later, we've started our descent into London Gatwick.
So, to answer the question, is the Wizz Air saving worth the sacrifice? It depends. If you're going for a few days and can manage with a backpack, the cost saving is definitely there to be had, at the expense of comfort. Going for the lowest prices each way, that's 135 out and 90 back, for a total of £225 return. That's incredibly cheap for such a long flight. The second you start adding extras though, it starts to become a bit more questionable. Let's use our same return for £225, then add checked baggage at £73, the cheapest seat selection at £18, a meal deal and snack around 17-ish. And remember, that's each way, so double those numbers and you're already looking at £441. And that's without adding a larger cabin bag, priority boarding, or selecting the extra legroom seats, which I would recommend. Now, let's compare that to a Saudia return ticket. Remember earlier I said London to Jeddah would have been £370 and my ticket back was £260, but that's priced as one-way tickets. Wizz and most low-cost carriers price their tickets one way, but you'll always get a cheaper price booking a return ticket with a full-service carrier like Saudia. So that return booked in one go can be as cheap as £415, but a lot of dates are around the 600 mark. So, if you're going to be adding extras anyway, it could possibly work out cheaper on Saudia, depending on your dates, and you'll get to enjoy a much nicer service. And that's the case with a lot of airlines once you factor in the cost of extras, so don't let those low-cost carrier headline prices fool you. Let me know in the comments if you could handle Wizz Air for 7 hours. Don't forget to hit like if you enjoyed this, and subscribe for more. Till next time.